So, Ms. York,
Yes.
what standards are you teaching with 8th grade reading?
Okay, I sincerely hope you don't want specific letters and numbers.
No. Just like
Just like a generalization.
generally.
As far as reading is concerned, we are covering standards such as identifying theme, analyzing text, textual evidence to support responses, claims, of course, setting, basically the elements of a story.
Good. So, like, what activities have you found like that you use in your class that work with your students to help them master that skill of, say, identifying theme?
Anytime I can use any type of graphic organizer to help them engage with text.
Okay.
If they don't have something that records their thoughts and ideas as we go, to expect them to retain it is usually not very successful. So any type of graphic organizers we can use, classroom discussions, to get them to, one, to listen to each other, because sometimes that sparks thoughts within others in the room. So getting them to engage in terms of discussions, organizing and recording things on graphic organizers. Those are common things that I use.
So, and you mentioned that you've got like just several different types of learners that you're gauging to. So how do you determine whether that student has got that skill for mastery or not?
In all reality, that's a challenge prior to like an assessment. Because sometimes, unfortunately, assessment is almost like an aha moment for me, because sometimes it's hard for the student to find the nerve or the courage or to speak up and say, I don't understand that.
Right.
So as we go, often I'll have them complete some sort of response writing, something they have to respond to, where they have to identify that through writing. Again, classroom discussions help me sort of gauge, especially if I call on certain ones.
Yeah.
Helps me to sort of gauge how well they're comprehending and retaining information.
Good. So, what do you do as far as like if you have a student that's not well, if the child is getting the mastery, then they're getting it. But and you kind of share some other differentiation that you're using to get that student. So, let me ask you this: do you change the grade in your grade book if, say, that child got a poor grade earlier in the year, and then he masters it or she masters it later? Do you change the grade then?
I don't.
Yeah.
Just because there tends to be a paper trail of grade.
Right.
Do you know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
So I don't want it to appear as if there's not a certain like measure of integrity there, or I don't want it to look suspicious, as odd as that sounds.
Yeah, and I know the type of teacher that you are, that you always want your students to achieve. But that's one thing that, as you go along, the whole purpose is for the student to learn. Okay, and if you can verify that with that student learning, even if that student made a 70 back this 9 weeks, right? First 9 weeks, and now that student has got, he's mastered, he or she has mastered that skill. Well, that's something that needs to be noted, in their grade.
Yeah, because I think the way that we do it is kind of antiquated, honestly.
Yeah. I'd like to see the day that we, okay, all right, Addie, you didn't master this skill. Let's go pour that. You've mastered all these. Let's go pour that skill that you didn't master out, and let's go work on that. And that's what you're going to do.
Because the whole point is mastery.
Yes.
Not just, okay, here's some grades I threw in the grade book.
Right. Or here's some lessons, or here's a worksheet, do it, and I'll give you a grade on completion or something like that. Yeah. So yes, that's something. Okay. So what are you going to do if the students don't master the skills? What are some things that you're going to do to help them master that? You've got differentiation that you do with your lessons. What else? What else would you do other than differentiate? I don't know if there's, maybe,
Is there a right answer to that?
there's not a right answer, but the answer lies within you.
What's the last thing?
If what you're doing is not helping the student master,
mhm.
what can you do? You know, what options do you have to get that student
Right.
to master that skill?
Man. I mean, I'm an advocate for reteaching because sometimes I'm the problem. I realize that. Sometimes I may not teach something well. It may not be that they haven't put the effort in and haven't attempted to learn it. Maybe that I didn't teach it well. But
So
it's,
reteaching,
yeah,
you would reteach
absolutely.
it?
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
Yeah. Even if it's the same skill, say we're talking about reading, even if it's the same skill, but we move it to a different reading selection. Maybe that particular story they didn't engage with, they didn't enjoy, they didn't identify
Wasn't
with.
their genre.
Right. So if we can reteach those skills, completely different reading selection, try it again.
Maybe they like it.
Mm-hmm.
Thank you.
You're welcome.